Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Courtside Conversations podcast. My name is Ryan Davis, and I am the girls basketball coach at Roanoke Benson High School. Along with me is my coaching mentor and great friend, Josh Williams. He is the coach at Clinton High School, the girls' head coach. Coach and I have known each other for 20 plus years now. We met while coaching on the same staff at Deer Creek Mackinac High School. Even though we only were able to spend one season on the bench together, that sparked a friendship, and it's lasted more than 2 decades. So, over the years, we've spent countless hours talking basketball, leadership, culture, player development, and life in general. Each time I know that we get together, I leave the conversation having learned something new. I feel a little bit smarter. Coach has had a tremendous impact on me, not only as a basketball coach, but as a mentor and friend. We've been talking about starting this podcast, Coach, for over a year now, and I'm excited that we're finally going to make it happen. So our goal is simple. We're going to share ideas. We're going to tell some stories. We're going to talk to some other coaches, hopefully provide something valuable for coaches at all levels for this game. Coach, I'm extremely grateful to be doing this podcast with you. Again, like I said, you've shaped the coach that I am today, and I can't think of a better person to start this journey with. So thanks for listening, and welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome, guys. I'm obviously very grateful that we met 20 years ago. It has been a great friendship, and we've been to clinics together all over the Midwest. I remember Mitch Holmgren taking us around to Madison and Milwaukee and all those Nike clinics back in the day. That was so much fun to see all those big-time speakers. I remember hosting roundtables for a few years, and you would come over to those roundtables, and we'd get 8, 9, 10 coaches together and talk hoops. It's really incredible just the way that basketball coaches just support each other and stay friends for so long. And it's when you're getting into something like coaching, which is really difficult. Like, everybody thinks they can do this, and then until you actually get in there and do it, and you realize how difficult it is, and how many people you're trying to help and please and improve. It's a very difficult job. So when you meet other coaches, I think that connection, that friendship, it's so natural because you know what the other person's going through. And yeah, I think we can learn something from everybody. And I've learned things from you, and I'm thankful you've been able to take some things from me. And hopefully we can give back to everybody that's out there watching this. And maybe you can learn something and take something from us and use it for your program and improve your basketball school. So yeah, I'm ready to get started.
All right. So today, our podcast, our episode is going to be on practice plans. And we had jotted down a few things like some questions like, what do your practice plans look like? I know for both of us, where we started to where we are now, they look completely different. Going from a transactional coaches to more transformative. The way we organize our practices and just the different things that we cover and take time for in these practices, weren't things that we necessarily did when we started. So, I think, both of us, when we started, our focus was more on the performance, the accountability, the outcomes, the execution of the different drills and things like that. Lots of direct instruction, feedback, consequences and rewards, on how we did, and that player mindset. They were thinking, I have to do what's expected, and I have to earn that success. And I know for me, I didn't do a great job of recognizing that the individual success. It was more the team success when I started, but definitely things have changed. So Coach, what do your practices look like nowadays?
Yeah, this practice planning system, I think this is really important. I was thinking about this, and you have to have an offensive system. You got to have a defensive system. You need a system that has something to do with culture building, player relationships, and then you have to have a system for planning a practice. I know, just for me anyway, I know there's some coaches who could just show up without a plan and run a good practice. That is not me at all. If I'm thinking about what I'm going to be doing next, I'm not going to be able to help and assist and coach in the drill that I'm actually watching. So I know that's going to take from me, which is taking from my athletes. So I do not want that. So I do like structure and I like organization. And I think it's easier to build a practice plan if you have segments that you have to fulfill, like every day. What is your outline, right? So we're always going to have some kind of a warm up to get us going. We're going to have a phase where we have some skill development. It's going to be player skill development. That piece is getting larger and larger the older I get. The more that we, as you've been talking about, pour back into kids, and it's more about them. And it's kind of really less about our team. It's more about serving those individual kids. And then you need to have a team defensive segment, at least for me. And then we're going to have some kind of a team offensive segment when we're more neutral. And then there's going to be some live play at the end. Now, granted, there's live play going on throughout the whole thing, but we're going to put it all together 5-on-5 early on. And I think it's really important in that warm-up section right at the beginning. I still like to do some ball handling stuff. I know there's a lot of coaches throughout America who don't like, they'll call them dribbling drills versus ball handling drills. But I think you have to meet your players where they're at. At a program like ours, we have kids who didn't start playing basketball really until 8th grade, 9th grade. These kids are really lower level players. And if we were to take away some stationary ball handling or moves on the move, I think these kids would really struggle. They're not the type of kids that are playing AAU. They're not working on their game at home all the time. There's a lot of things going on in their life, and basketball is just something they're doing because a friend asked them to do it. And honestly, we need the players because our roster is low. So we still do some of that stuff, is what I'm saying, and I think there's value to it. Kids just learning to trust that when I dribble the ball, it's going to come back up to my hand and I don't have to stare at it. Like, how important is that? Can I dribble with both of my hands? Like, we have a lot of kids who can't do that. And as we play opponents, we see that all the time. We see kids who have one arm out there trying to play basketball, and you can take advantage of that. So I still think there's a place for that, depending on the program that you're in. And that's going to be like 3-4 minutes, and then we're right into some kind of a fun game where people are, a tag game. We love different types of tag games. We want people smiling and sweating and getting ready for the practice. We used to do dynamic warm-ups, but we've taken all that away. That's boring. It's slow. I've never seen anybody get injured because they didn't do that. So let's just get them moving with tag. We love lots of variations of tag. We did one summer practice. It was probably last week. We call it circle chase noodle tag. Right? We get into 2 teams. We put cones around the center circle, a little bit wider than the center circle, blow the whistle, and the first person in each line, they take off running with the noodles, and they're chasing the other person. If you can't catch them, you hand it off to the next person in line, and now the next ones are going. And at some point, someone drops the noodle, and then they get whacked, and then we go a second round, and we're going the other way. But the kids love it. They're having a great time, and it gets them to come back to us, wanting to come back to practice the next day. They're excited to be there. And really, that's the main point. Let's get them ready to play. Let's have fun. Let's bring joy back into practice. And let's see if we can get them talking with their friends in the hallway. And maybe a few more stragglers will come into the gym in year 2 and in year 3. And then we can continue to build our programs, which are suffering, by the way.
Sure.
That's kind of how I started. You want to talk about that? We'll go into depth about my other segments later. But
Well, I was just going to say we did one the other day where we called it Protect the Captain, where we had one tagger and then one captain, and then everybody else was in a line, and you put your hands on the shoulders of the person ahead of you, and then the captain's at the back with their hands on the shoulder. And then basically they have 7 seconds. The tagger has 7 seconds to try to get around the tagger. This doesn't allow you to circle up. So basically you're just trying to weave like a snake and protect that captain for 7 seconds. And and if you can do so, then you're successful, and we rotate through the taggers and the captains and stuff like that. But again, it's one of those things, like you said, it's you never really thought about that, earlier on, where tag, I mean, such a simple concept where you're cutting and changing speed, changing direction, uh, evasive maneuvers and things like that. I mean, all of those are basketball moves. So, to put those in, and like you said, where dynamic stretches and stuff like that, yeah, it's boring. The kids don't enjoy it, and why not make it something fun where they're laughing and having fun. Um, so um, kind of going off of that, um, you know, with this new type of you know coaching, the more transformational coach, and the different thinking going into these practices. Um, you know, I kind of, again, the more and more we talk, the more and more I take from you. So, these are things that we definitely do. Um, you know, uh, I know we'll talk more about your themes and stuff for practice, and mine are very similar. I have a couple of different things, but one of the things um, that kind of struck with me as far as practice, and I had never thought about this before, until I had Matt Toman from Mental Metal uh, come in, and he talked to our girls. And after we were done, our girls did a great job during the session. And then, I was talking to him, and he said something. He said, if you want to improve the mental aspect of your game, you have to practice it. Because for the old me, it would be like, all right, I heard it, they heard it, like, we got it. Let's move forward. You can't just listen to a message, one time and move on and expect things to change. It's he said it's just like dribbling or shooting. You have to practice if you want to get better. And a lot of coaches are like, I don't want to waste my time with those things in practice. I need that time to do other skills, other drills. But it really hit home with me because if you're not mentally prepared, mentally strong, the dribbling and the shooting and stuff, if you're not uh, you know confident and focused on those things, you're not going to be at your best. So things like that, practicing uh, things you know um, where your mindset and controlling the controllables and all these little things that we'll talk more about later uh, when we go through your themes and stuff. But that's one thing that I have added into my practices, that I've never done before, because again, it's just like one of those light bulb moments that you hear something and it resonates, and it's like, man, why didn't I think of that earlier? So
Yeah. So I'm curious on that. Like, how do you go about doing that in your practice? I'm trying to think through how I might do that. Like maybe situations where you're putting them in you're down 11 to 2, or maybe I'm telling my assistant, we're going to make some really bad calls right here, and let's
yeah.
see how they respond to that. I can think of things like that. But what are you doing? Which this is great because
Yeah.
anytime we've been in a big game, this is what happens to us. There's tons of adversity. We don't like what's happening around us, and we start to fall apart. So it's like, what's our response? Are we going to be
So
above the line, below the line? What's the next best thing for us to do? Yeah, if you'd share, that'd be awesome.
yeah. So you know, it's one of those things that, whether it's practices at the end where we kind of regroup at the end and we kind of talk about things, or whether it's at the beginning of practice after a game, and I'll pick up like certain situations or events that happened in our game, and I'll bring those back up, and we'll talk about, that's something that we can control. How did we react? Um, how did we respond? Um, because they talked about your response, uh, the event and the response equals the outcome. Like, how are you responding to these things? And is it, like you said, above the line, below the line? Are we handling it in a way that's positive and keeping the game moving and staying focused, or are we letting that moment consume us, where now we're not focused on the game, we're thinking about what just happened, and now that leads to mistakes and turnovers and all those things. So just kind of bringing back up things and teaching things that have happened and how we handled it, how we could have handled it better. And the same goes for, like, if we handled something really well, you want to recognize those moments, like so and so, um, you know, got called for a blocking foul, and it looked really, really like a really good charge. She had taken a charge, and we didn't get up, we didn't throw our hands up or anything like that. We got up, we hustled back, and we kept playing the game, and our teammates picked us up, and we just moved on. So recognizing things like that, I think, are super important as well.
I think it's good if players have some kind of a phrase they can say to themselves. Like ours forever was just next play. But then I started hearing some people talk about things that are like more modern and tech related, like swipe right or keep scrolling, like things like that that they do all the time on their phones and on their devices. I thought that was good, so
Yeah,
I've thrown that in a little bit. But they definitely need something, and it could be different for every single
yeah,
kid.
that
But
reset.
just that quick reset, get my mind back to neutral. What's the next right thing that I need to be doing right now? I think the way you're using it, we could do the same, and I think we have some. Like we have an after action review, we call it AAR, and sometimes it's culture clips. But one day this year it was on Fridays, and because that's when we had the film room available. But we played you at your place. It was not this year, but 2 years ago, and I remember we had a clip during Culture Clips that day on our after action review, but it was early in the game and you guys were beating us and we were down, I don't know, 6 or 7 or something. It was pretty early. And one of my players throws it out of bounds. And immediately her head drops and she's walking back towards defense. And I'll never forget, my Carly Anderson comes running over to her, puts her hand on her chin and lifts her head up. Like it's like something you'd see on X, in a college game, which I think I did see one time. A
Yes,
UCLA
yeah,
player did that
yes,
years ago. But to see and we never talked about anything like that. I don't know if Carly saw that, but we saw it on the film and we clipped it and we put it into our culture clips that week. And, and we talked about it as a group. Like, that's being a great teammate. Like, you're
absolutely.
encouraging, you're serving, you're lifting other people up. Um, One of the things I stole from Dave Feeney at Normal Community recently, I met with Dave Feeney maybe a couple months ago, and one of his things that they push, he always says, is when you're out, you're in. And this kind of ties into that. Like, so anytime you're not in the game and you're out, maybe you're on the bench or you're at the end of a line, like, what are you doing to bring energy and encouragement to the people that are on the floor? Like, if you see somebody doing something right, tell them.
Yeah,
If you see somebody doing something wrong and you think maybe you can help them, ask them if you can help them. Don't just tell them because they may not like that, but ask if you can help. And then, when people are vulnerable about that and they start saying, yeah, please help me, that builds connections, it brings people together. But I definitely think you're onto something. I probably need to try to find more clips like that, put that into our culture clips as opposed to just always like trying to model, we're trapping the post and our rotations are great or whatever it is like that. But yeah, that's great. Great stuff.
kind of breaks up the just the monotony of focusing on the skills on the court, but you know other things that are important as well. All right, so you kind of talked about how you start practice, and so you get into some ball handling stuff, and you said moving. Do you have any favorite drills that you do as far as your uh, your ball handling stuff? Are you doing more short-sided games with your ball handling as well as other skills?
It's a mix. I have just a list of ball handling drills that I'll do. If the game that day is heavy ball handling, I might take out that segment, and then that's going to save me 5 or 4 minutes on my schedule on the back end, or I can add it into something. Maybe we're doing press break or something that day. So as you go through the year, you're always trying to find ways where you can manipulate the time on your practice schedule to get in things you need. Like we need to review our blobs or our slabs or whatever it is. There's always something. Or maybe it's a scouting report thing. Like this team runs these actions. We got to make sure that our kids know how to cover this. This is an extra 8 minutes that we don't normally have. I might take out ball handling that day and we'll cover it in our warm-up game. Because there's a lot of things, like almost everything we do, we're dribbling the basketball. If it might be rock, paper, scissors, shoot. We're all dribbling at the same time, and now we're attacking a rim and someone's chasing them, trying to play defense. 2 versus 2 touchdown tag. Everybody's dribbling. When the offense goes, they're trying to get into the end zone, and the defenders inside are just trying to dribble and chase them and tag them. So we're doing ball handling. We're working on moves, change of direction stuff. So yeah, it all kind of blends together in that way. And then once we get through that, we get into we'll meet and have our practice objectives and our thought of the day. But then we're getting into our skill work, and that's a huge chunk. That's a 45-minute segment right now, where we're doing like our shooting vitamins for 25 minutes, and then we jump into small-sided games for 20 minutes. Small-sided games right now are probably longer than that because in the summer we don't do a ton of defense, which it looks like if you watch us play, we don't know what we're doing, and that's okay. I just want the kids to get better offensively, decision-making and shooting. But there are some things that we do have to improve defensively, so we do a little bit of defense, maybe like 10 minutes, but like in the season, our defensive segment is more 20 minutes. But, shooting vitamins, that's always getting better. I still like to do, the stuff we've always done. Like I still like around the horn to teach our footwork. Now we took that out last year because we were old. Everybody knew what we were doing. When we got to January, I took out around the horn, I took out defense, and we were all shooting in small-sided games. The group I have now, like we just played at Wesleyan at the Shirk Center, and we didn't win a game, and that's fine. We've got 9 players, and 6 of them are freshmen. Like we don't know what we're doing, and it's a whole new system for these kids. And their footwork is not great. It's not great, and that's okay. They just haven't worked on it. So it's like we were saying earlier with the ball handling. Like it kind of gets into fundamentals. Like what are fundamentals now? That's so blurry to me. I used to think it was ball handling, shooting stuff, and now everyone is saying, well, it's spacing, it's the decision making, and I get it. There's kind of like modern fundamentals and old school fundamentals, and I'm trying to do as many of the modern fundamentals as I can. But I got these kids on the team that just started playing basketball, and they're way down here. And you know what? They need that. Like they need that foundation of just this is an inside foot, 1-2 footwork, right? Like we don't have a clue about that kind of stuff. We're lifting our pivot foot before the ball's down. These are things that we should be able to just play and not think about, but these kids are thinking about it. So we do the around the horn. We have 6 phases to our ball toss out shooting. We've added 2 phases that I stole from Matt Saman from watching that Jamodi podcast for the last couple of years. We still do 8 feet bank and 15 feet swish. We still do shot fake, 1 bounce, strong side, the rip and the cross. And these are all 1-minute segments. So it's 1, 1, 1, 1. And then the 5th phase is 180-degree turns. So we toss it when leather touches fingertips, our back is to the rim. We do a 180-degree jump, land, and then you immediately get balanced, immediately find your target, and you're going right up into your shot. And we'll do that from like 17 to 23 feet out, depending on their range, for 1 minute. And then we added hop backs. We put our heels on the 3-point line, ball toss out, leather touches fingertips. We hop back behind the 3-point line, and find our balance, and immediately we're back up and out towards the rim into our shot. And that's our 6th and final minute of that segment for our shooting vitamins. And then we're jumping right into shooting games. So last year I did one shooting game a day, and we tracked the scores and showed them their growth and improvement, celebrated them for beating their high scores and stuff like that. This year we're switching to two shooting games. One of them is like about 1 minute. The other one is about 2 minutes. The kids are getting up, 43s in like 3 minutes. It's a ton of shots, and we're going to track those scores. Right now in the summer, I don't have my manager with me. She's a junior high student, and she's amazing, but she doesn't work in the summer. So we'll just like, anybody get a 12, and whoever our winner, whoever hands will go up, and then we make sure we still celebrate the kids who had the high scores that day, with a round of applause. And I know some people do the snaps, but we still clap for each other. But we want to make sure we're celebrating kids, which is important. We try to celebrate at the beginning, the middle, and the end. I think I do most of the celebrating at the beginning. Like, I'm just happy you walked through the door and you're here, so it's first, make sure I use their first names. I'm high-fiving kids, great to see you today. How you're feeling? Are you sore? I just want to make sure they feel seen, heard, valued immediately. And you can see their faces, they just light up. Like, I was recognized. Coach knows I'm here. And I really think that's a great way to start practice. And then we celebrate them in the middle. And then, of course, at the end, we're going to celebrate somebody as a group, and we let them call that stuff out. But that's been good. Even our incoming freshmen are doing that. They're feeling more confident to join in with that stuff. And then after the shooting games, in season, we'll do team free throw shooting. Right now in the summer, we don't do any free throw shooting at all. But we do it. I know there's some people who say free throw shooting doesn't help. You can't practice that. And I don't know if I believe it or not, but I know that if my kids are struggling and we haven't been doing free throw shooting in the season, they're going to think about it and they're going to talk about it. They're like, well, we don't even shoot free throws. So they're going to lose confidence in me. So whether it helps or it doesn't help, we're going to keep that segment in, and we're going to continue to do that. Plus, it's easy for me to have winners, losers, and now we get to pay some taxes in practice and do a little bit of running for how well you shot that day. And then we jump into our small-sided games, which is a 20-minute segment. It starts out like a lot of 1-versus-1 stuff. I love 1-versus-1 in the post. Like, we'll get in groups of 3, and we'll be at all these baskets with 3 players at a group. And one of the players acts as a coach. One's in the low post. One's on defense. We would play 3-quarter high side wrap, and when the ball's thrown in, we would jump behind. And we trap the post, but like in this thing, there's no trap. So it's just one-on-one, which happens in a game sometimes anyway, because your teammate might forget to trap the post, and now you're one-on-one anyway. So now we'll say you get 2 dribbles for a minute, and then you get 1 dribble for a minute, and then we'll play for a minute where you get 0 dribbles. And they're trying to pivot their way into a solution or get to their step-through game. We're just trying to get them to discover ways on their own to get a shot up that's not a 5 or a 4. Like, we don't want those hero highlight shots. We don't want those 4th grade shots. We want something that has a chance to go in and legitimately has a chance to get you fouled and get you to the free throw line. Because really, that's the best place to be. We know that our points per possession are the highest when we get to the free throw line. I think last year we were 1.32 points per trip to the line, and we shot like 67% from the line. So we like those 8s. And then we're working on defense. Like, how many times defensively do you see kids come down with their hands in the post and foul, right? That happens all the time. They're like, Coach, I was straight up. And then we show them on film, no, you're coming down and you're just whacking away on people. So we talk about wall up, walk through, reaching for the lights, hands behind your ears. I think you need some kind of sticky language, catchy slogan. Mark Cassio says skyscraper. Like, that's great too. Anything that helps them remember my hands need to be up and I'm not coming down and hacking people is great. And then from there, we like to get into some kind of an attack of the rim. Maybe it's from the top of the key, maybe it's from the wing, and we give them advantage starts. Maybe the defender's on their side, and as soon as the offense takes off, the defense is trying to get back to neutral. Maybe they're behind them, so it's a little bit bigger advantage. We just do different things that we see online. We steal, sometimes we create some stuff. But we're trying to attack downhill, veer into contact, or maybe we're attacking armpits. If there's a defender in front of us, can I get to her armpit, veer into her, and make sure I'm making contact first? We want our kids to be real aggressive, attacking the rim downhill. And then you may have to stretch out at the end, but let's work on our stretch finishes. Like, we don't call those 5s. Those aren't hero highlights. Those are still eights for us, contested layups at the rim. And then I think in your small sided games, you then want to get into one of like four decisions. You need to train like shoot it, move it decisions. Do I need to shoot it or drive it? Because we like to play out of dominoes. And then we need to train, is it a fast finish or a protection plan? So we're like fast or protect. Like we'll put them at the elbow with the defender next to them, drive it downhill to the rim. If you get that little half step on them, that should be a fast finish. Inside foot, outside hand. Maybe it's an outside foot, inside hand that we'd call a Curry finish. But if they're neutral and even with you, we don't want you to throw up a garbage shot at the rim where you're drifting out of bounds. Now we teach them protection plans. Okay, how can I protect myself so I don't turn it over and travel, and so I don't shoot a 4 or a 5 that coach is going to clip on Friday? Like I don't want to see my 4 up there. So we get them into like the Barclays, right? Dribble into a post up. And now we're in the drill that we do every day. Find a pivot solution, find your step through game, try to get an 8. Or we teach the rondo, or what Mark Cassio calls the donut, stride stop, show them something sweet, reverse pivot, now you got a jumper. Or if they close out, we get to our step through. Our kids really like that one. I've seen a lot of success with our kids using that. Even some of our lower level players are going to that because that's really hard to guard. And then the last one would be like a corner connect. Like if I'm downhill and I got a shooter in the corner, how do we connect those two people together? Well, the way we do it is we'll do a 2 versus 2 game. Right? And we'll tell the defender, you're either going to kind of cap the corner pass and take that away so the defender has to read that and see it. Oh, I can't kick it. This is going to be a finish at the rim, or it might be protection plan. Or if that defender jumps in front of me and I see a chest tells me to spray it. I'm going to kick it out in the corner for that wide open 7. So it's a shoulder or an arm, I score it, right? Chest, I spray it. And those are all the decisions that we try to get in each day. And then we'll finish up that segment with, like usually, my favorite one would be 4 versus 3 dominoes with the circle start. So now we're just kicking it out. The 3 defenders are scattering. And is it a shoot it, drive it, or move it scenario? And then we'll start counting down with the shot clock. 9, 8, 7. So we force aggression, which I love because our kids are young and they're passive. And no one wants to feel like a ball hog, and we're always so everyone's trying to just pass it, even when people aren't open. So I think that's the greatest thing we've done is add shot clocks to so much of the stuff that we do. I just start counting down, and someone's got to get an advantage and get to the rim. And then we'll finish with our race cars. 4 versus 4 race cars. We're teaching them to rabbit and bolt into the rails, sprint to our locks, and then our pushers are attacking, and we're just trying to up it. And we only allow 1 shot per team. That way we just get it going up and down and we're racing. We don't really play an out of bounds. And then I will throw in the shot clock. So we'll hunt the 2 side. We're trying to find 9s and 7s, move it, drive it, kick it. The shot clock's going. I might let them start hunting for a little bit. And I'm like, okay, I see it slowing down. And I'm like 6, 5, 4. I just start counting. And then we'll do that for about 4 minutes. And we'll hockey sub about every minute because it's exhausting. It's a great drill to condition your kids as well because there's just no break. You're just constantly going. So that's usually the end of our small-sided game segment. And that's, like I said, that's about 45 minutes, but we can tweak it depending on what time of the year it is or what that week looks like.
I love all your little cues, like things that you can remember. Like if you see the chest, spray it. Little things like that. I think those really resonate with the kids. Just those little reminders, those visual reminders. I think that really helps, especially like girls. Because girls, you don't see them out playing 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3. So, just the making the reads and stuff that you see, boys out doing. When they go play pickup games, girls, you don't see that a lot. So having those reminders is huge. And I think, like you said, moving into these small-sided games where you're playing to an advantage, dominoes, things like that are things that, again, a lot of girls don't know how uh, to play that. I don't know how many times in the past where I've had one of my players catch the ball and their defender flies right by him, and it's like we stop and we wait, like we're being super kind, like please get back in front of me and let's make it even before I do something, you
Right.
know. Um, so now we're moving towards that this year, and like you said, we were also at Wesleyan at the Shirk Center on Friday and watching our team play and look to push up the rails in that two-sided break. We had 9 girls on our roster that day, which is up from the 7 we'd had the last couple games. But our girls were just exhausted because you're just constantly pushing. So trying to keep bodies fresh, and especially in the summer, not everybody's in basketball shape. But you know, it's it's a lot more fun, I think. And watching them kind of figure things out. You know, and kind of going back to a few things that you talked about, like the celebrating of the players. I like to be like over the top and exaggerate things, and I'll make like a huge deal. I'll start jumping up and down and screaming and like waving my arms, like when something like clicks or somebody does something like like a great move or whatever. I'll be jumping around making a fool of myself, and everybody then looks at me and like, you know, uh, what's this guy doing? And then, you know, making sure that they're the ones getting recognized and stuff like that. I love doing stuff like that. So, um,
That made me think of something. Yeah. You were talking about the kid on the perimeter and the defender goes past him and they didn't know to drive it, right?
yeah,
So with our kids, what we see, they're used to coming down and running offense. Like we were coming down sometimes and we're unguarded. Like no one's near
yeah,
us. We're trying to go to a dribble handoff. And we're like, what are we doing? Like, no,
yeah,
that's a 7. Like, and I'm trying to tell them, we're running offense to get a 9 or a 7 as fast as possible. If it happens in 3 seconds, that's fine. I don't care. Let's take the 9 or 7 before we turn it over, right? At least we have a chance to offensive rebound a shot. And if it's a 9 or 7, there's a better chance it's going to go in. I don't care if it's 1 pass or 0 passes or 11 passes. Let's get the 9 or 7. So that's hard for them because they're not used to having that much freedom. I don't think they have that much courage and confidence in themselves, honestly. Because some of these kids, like I've got some post players who didn't shoot threes in junior high, and now we're shooting all these threes in practice. I'm telling them to shoot them in the games, and one of them hit 2 in one game, and I don't think she made very many in junior high, but she's one who also passed up some because she's not confident in her ability yet. So these small-sided games that we're going to, it is helping them with their confidence and their belief in themselves that they can do it. I can be a shooter and a creator. I don't have to just be a connector, connecting one action to the next and be a rebounder. Like I get to play, and coach is telling me, please shoot those. So yeah, that's awesome. Awesome stuff,
yeah.
man.
I joke with my girls and say, what is the purpose of an offense or a play? And it's to get a shot, to get a good opportunity. And I said, what happens if we're running an offense and you know we have that open shot? Does that mean we have to keep running through the entire offense? And they're like looking at me like I don't know how to answer this. I'm like, screw the play. Like, there's your shot. Screw the play. Like, take that. And that's what these small-sided games and things like this. That flow offense is now you know building confidence in these girls, and make or miss, just keep shooting, keep shooting. We're going to get to a point where we're going to have a lot more success with this, especially, my team, it's brand new. We've only been working on it for about a month, and we've come a long way, but it's still, we pass up a lot of things. And it's just continuing to build confidence, and that that's important for, the coach to stay positive. I remember the first time that I witnessed this offense. I was coaching with you in an all-star game and the Birdcage Classic, and you had been working on this offense and watching players go down, and they're one pass and a shot, or walking into a three, and I think we missed like 10 or 15 shots in a row, and I'm like, we need to get a paint touch. We gotta do all this stuff. We gotta mix something up. We gotta make something happen. And you know, you didn't say anything at the time, but you know, I got home and there was that text message, and you know, again, just mentoring like you do for me a lot, and just if you said, like, if you're trying to implement something and you're telling them in practice, shoot, 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 do all these things, and then once things don't start going right, you tell them to stop or don't do that or do something else. Like, you're crushing that confidence, and everything that you had been working towards and growing with is kind of like paused, or you've taken like 10 steps back, and trying to get that back is tough. So I think it's super important that whatever you're doing, to stay positive with these kids. One of the things that we implemented last year, and I got it off of the Jamodi podcast, was the phrase "play fearless," and it was a great message about, as coaches, when we watch film or when we talk about things, it's so easy to point out the negatives or the things that we've done wrong. But when you do that, it's with girls and stuff, especially, I feel like, that just that makes them more nervous. It makes them more scared. Like, they play scared. They're not focused. They're playing not to make a mistake, because they don't want to get pulled. And when you're not playing fearless and your mind is on, don't screw up, don't miss this shot, don't miss this free throw, like, you're more likely to do that stuff. So, we implemented that play fearless. I don't care if you make a mistake, as long, we're being aggressive. We're trying to make things happen. We're going to make mistakes. Don't focus on it. Move on. As a coach, I don't want to add to that fear. I don't want to talk about, how good a player is on the opposite team, where I psych my team out. I don't want to, when we do film, I don't want to just talk like, we should have done this here, we should have done this here, we should have done, like, I need to do a better job of focusing on those positive things, and the recognition of doing things well, and having success. Sometimes you gotta, I know some people like when you're watching film, the sandwich where you're good, five good things, maybe five things you need to work on, and then 3 or 5 good things to bring it back. But I think, just keeping that positive mindset, and taking that fear away from the players is going to make them that much better. And you know just the reminders and things like, hey, I like that you attacked the rim. We're going to lose the ball sometimes, but keep attacking. Things like that, that the girls will start to gain confidence, and start to believe in themselves more, and that's where they're going to find success.
Yeah, those are great. That's a great point. I read somewhere or saw it somewhere, or maybe it was a pod. They were saying like 75 to 80% of your learning comes from seeing a model of it being done correctly. So I tried to remember that, and so I've tried to clip more of those situations where, oh, look, we did great here. Look at these rotations. This is what it's supposed to look like. as opposed to in the past, I just like you, I would always put the bad stuff up. You didn't rotate outside the curb. Here you got a foul. Things like that. Whatever it is. So try to model as much of the good as we can. I do think anytime there's something that happens that's a negative play on the court that comes back to your culture, I do think we have to address that, right? That's part of being a great leader, having those confrontational conversations. Sometimes it happens in the film room, but we got to make sure we're being great teammates. I think you can point that out too with like your bench. If you've got bad energy and they're just sitting there, we need to point that out. That's part of that culture of when you're out, you're in. We want to make sure that we're excited for others. We're locked in. We're doing this together.
Yeah.
And,
That
we
team over
get,
everything mentality.
yeah, yeah. I heard from the Bradley coach at the IBCA clinic, Brian Wardle last year. He was talking about culture, and he said culture it's what you see, it's what you hear, and it's what you feel. So we kind of started our summer practice talking about that. Like, what do you see when you walk in the gym? How are people treating each other? How are the coaches treating you and others? What do you hear? What are the things that are being said about others to others? And then how does all that stuff make you feel? Right? That's really important. And we want to make sure that that's positive and that's encouraging at all times. And we need to address it when it's not. But yeah, so important for the success of your team. But yeah, good stuff, Ryan.
Yeah. So, um, just kind of wrapping things up here, because I think we've got a lot of stuff that we could go off of with this, like culture and how we tie that into practices and stuff like that. Um, you know, what do you do to end your practices? Like, what does the end of your practice look like?
Yeah, so we kind of got through those first two phases. As we get down to the end, we're going to do like in season, there's going to be 20 minutes of defense. Like, I'm still going to do shell, man. There's phases of shell, especially with these young kids that we just have to do because we have to know our positioning. We're going to defend ball screens. We're going to go through our coverages. We're going to work on trapping the post because that's a habit that we have to create. And we're going to work on our conversion defense. We're going to do shell conversion, score it, winners, losers run. And then I still think, because we still run some set plays, I have not completely went away from set plays. I still have a segment of 5-on-0. I know there's a lot of coaches that are like, we don't do that. That's old school. But if I'm going to run any sets, I want to make sure they know they're confident. Like, if I get put in this spot, I know what I'm supposed to do. So we'll still rep some 5-on-0 plays because we will call them on dead balls, ref touches. And really, they're just trying to get advantages and get us into dominoes. Sometimes it's a post touch, but usually it's trying to get us back into dominoes. And then we're going to do some 5-on-5 live scrimmage where we're putting everything together that we just did in our practice. And then at the end, when we come together, the first thing is always, hey, let's celebrate someone. We come together in the circle, and then we just start looking around. And sometimes it's awkward silence for a moment, but we're going to wait until somebody raises their hand. And then they're going to call out somebody for something they did. So-and-so was shooting it really well today at my basket. Made, whatever. This girl was really encouraging for me, and she helped me learn some of these things we were doing in the small set of games. Whatever it is, they celebrate it. Sometimes it's 2 or 3. Sometimes it's 6, 7, 8. I don't care. As long as hands are going up, I'm going to keep calling on people, and we're going to keep celebrating. And then we just wrap up with, like, what are we going to do tomorrow? Where are we meeting? What time is it? That kind of stuff. You had talked about the themes, which I had talked about with on the Jamodi podcast with Matt Saman. That could be a whole other day for us where we could talk about our daily themes. But yeah, no, what about you, Ryan? How do you guys wrap up practice?
Well, kind of going back to the 5-on-0 stuff, we still do that. And what I like to do is I put them in groups and I kind of sit back and I let them work through things. I let them, if they have a question, they try to figure it out, like in their group. Like, when was I supposed to, when was I supposed to set that screen? Am I flashing back after, after I set a screen, something like that. because I want them to figure it out, empower them, let them problem solve. And I'm there if they need it, like they just can't figure it out. I don't want to let it go too long, but I want to at least have them try, like, figure it out. Or if they come to that answer and the answer is not right, then I'll be like, close, but going over there and helping and making sure that they're doing things right. Because you talked about having uh, segments and times and stuff, and that's one thing that I've always liked about you. I can't do that. I've tried to do, put down my times, but I'm the type of coach that if something's not right, I want to keep working on it. And, not to the point where it's going to take our entire practice, but if I need more than 5 minutes, I don't want to have to think about, like, all right, I'm going to cut this. Like, I'm going to put my things that I really think we need to focus on up top. And, the things that if we don't get to them, it's okay. Like we can get to that stuff tomorrow. But I, I, I just struggle putting a time limit on things because if I feel like we need another 10 minutes and we could get there, I'm going to take that 10 minutes instead of, like, you know we're going to come back tomorrow, because I'm not sure if we're going to be at that same point. Like, are we 10 minutes away from getting it again, like coming back in fresh? Or you know do we need to keep working on it until we get it right? The old saying, don't do it till you get it right, do it till you can't do it wrong. um, you know, are we close to getting it? Do we still need some work and stuff? And if it's taken more than the 5 minutes I thought it would take, I'm going to take 15 or 20 minutes. And then if we don't get to the things that I don't think are uh, absolutely necessary, then we'll put that stuff off for tomorrow. But yeah, that's one thing that I know a lot of coaches do. That's just something I'll put down times and I never follow them. I just I don't know. I just struggle with that.
I love the idea of putting them into groups. Like, why am I not doing that? Why have I never thought of that? Because we're doing it in all the small sided games.
Yeah,
And one of our pillars is unity. So, and we want people to connect and we want people to lead. So I can already see, you got 5 kids at a hoop going through an action they just learned. Someone's going to try to lead. That's awesome. And then what we're also working on there is our followership, which is something I didn't even think about until about a year ago. But in order for someone to be a great leader, they have to have great followers. And at some point, you're going to want to lead too, and you're going to want them to follow you. So you better follow when they're trying to lead. So we're supporting each other, making those connections, tying back into our pillar of unity. That's beautiful. We're going to use that, and I'm going to take that. And then I also like use the power of the word now. Like,
yeah,
you're doing this great now. Let's add this to it. So I'm trying to be more intentional about using that word, and eliminating all the buts and stuff,
yeah.
because
Well,
I
I,
had to
I can't
down.
yet. Like, use
Yeah,
yet.
yeah, it's a good one too.
You can,
Yeah,
but yeah, just trying to get rid of that negativity and disbelief. To You can do it, just you haven't got there yet, type thing.
yeah. Which
But
my team right now, we're so young and inexperienced. Like, we played U High the first game of the year this summer, and they beat us by 50. And I knew it wasn't going to be good. They got everybody back. We have no one back. And I got kids who had practiced 3 days. And so when I'm talking to them, it's like I'm trying to explain to these kids who are like 14 years old, like, sometimes we're ahead in life and sometimes we're behind, right? But it's always for now. Like, we're behind for now, but in 24 months, we're going to be a really good team. But we just got to keep working together, staying together. We have to be consistent with our reps, stack good days, and over time, we're going to get there and we're going to be what we were last year and the year before. But it's always like, for now, right? I got that from Simon Sinek. That guy's awesome. I love Simon Sinek, but it's like, for now. And we were good last year, like, for now, and now we're not so good.
yeah,
And that's just the cycle of it. It's going to be fine. And I think the kids are like, they see it, They understand it, and it's just where we are. But yeah, great
And
stuff.
I love that stuff as a coach, having that opportunity to teach those little things because, that's something, yes, that applies to basketball, but I mean, you're going to take that stuff past high school, into college, into your career and stuff like that. And, just falling back on that mentality that, a basketball coach taught you. And that's all part of the relationships. And I'm sure we'll do a podcast on relationships and stuff because that is my why, as far as coaching is the relationships that I get to build. So, yeah, as far as wrapping up practice, it's coming back together. Celebrating. We have like what we call practice player of the day, and it's nomination. And like you said, sometimes you'll get those people that it might take a second, but then I feel like once you one person speaks up, it kind of opens the floodgates, and then I like, you know, sometimes I have to prompt them like for a little bit more because what they say is very vague, and I'm like, well, how? Like, how did they help you? Like, what was it specifically? And so, like, we can really get that out there because, just knowing that I helped someone is one thing, but when you are specific, like they really helped me with learning when we were working on the flow offense. So they can sit back. Oh yeah, that I do remember that instead of just you know the vague answer of they were nice to me today at practice. Um, I want specifics and stuff so we can really kind of celebrate and pinpoint those moments. So um, that's all I got, Coach. How about you?
Well, what you're saying made me think of one thing. We've had two times this summer, we've had kids celebrate another kid for doing really well with taking feedback. Like, not
Yeah.
maybe from me, but from players as well. And that I've never heard them do that before.
No.
So it's interesting, but it's probably, and I think one of them was a kid who actually struggles with feedback. So when they saw someone taking it well, it stood out to them, right? And so they pointed that out. So I thought that was really cool. And it goes back into our pillars, right, of humility, right? Everybody knows something I don't. I can learn from everyone. So I just need to be curious about their opinion. Yeah. This is fun. There's so many topics we can talk about. I
I
feel
know.
like podcasts could last for years.
We're at 57 minutes and we weren't sure how long we were going to be able to go. So yeah, this has been awesome.
I think that's a good starting point for the first one.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to cover before we close it out?
Um, I think no. I think we need to save some material.
For sure. For sure. All right. Well, those of you who are taking the time to watch our podcast, I want to thank you guys. This was our first episode. It was a lot of fun. Not gonna lie, I was a little nervous going into this. I'm glad to have Josh with me here. It makes it feel like it's just two guys talking basketball, and I don't think about the actual like people could be watching this later. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to continuing on with these things.
Yeah, I hope it adds value to coaches. I mean, we're talking about things that interest us as basketball coaches. I know there's thousands of other coaches in America that are interested in the same type of thing. So hopefully people can watch it, steal some stuff, and everybody can get better and grow. And, I'm really fortunate to have someone like you to talk to that we can share ideas and help each other grow. It's awesome.
All right. Well, thank you very much for watching.
All right, Ryan. We'll see you next time.